Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Spy Party Competitive League cast for today. We're on to the Challenger semifinals. Getting right down to it. And to help me along, I got two very excellent casters. We got Dowsey,
That is I,
uh,
Droey,
or
for the
Dro, yep, or
the
Droey
gentlemen's among us.
in the Spy Party canon. Yes, and then we have Slappy Davis,
Hello, hello.
sometimes known as Skippy David.
That's gonna come back in about a week, isn't it?
I might. I don't know if we do another escape room, maybe.
I have to know the story behind this.
Oh no, it
What's
was just simply we did an escape room last PAX, and part of it was we wrote down our names onto hello, my name is uh cards, those little tag stickers, and I don't
Yep.
know the guy who read off all the names saw Flappy and thought it said Skippy.
There you go. And it sticks.
Yeah,
That's how these things
well,
work.
I mean, occasionally sticks.
There's
All right.
always like
Anyway,
random things that stick like that, yeah.
I mean, that's how Joey came about.
oh
Woda
yeah,
just completely miswrote my name on the prediction stream,
yep, that
and,
happens.
There's a
and
lot of
then
like water related things like that, like Weast and stuff that I'm hearing
Yeah.
about.
Yeah, I mean, I think my misspelling of your name was just a result of uh, autocorrect not recognizing Dowsey as a real thing, and it was like,
oh
no,
yeah, yeah,
you mean drowsy. Like,
yeah. A lot of people get like Downey because of Robert Downey Jr.
yeah, I might have,
Um,
yeah,
but it's funny because after Woda did the misspelling of Droey. He then announced my interview at the beginning of the season, and he wrote "Raising Start" instead of "Rising Star." So it's like it's Droey the Raising Start is
yeah, that is
is
your
my title.
okay. That is good, awesome. Now let's actually look at some of the match stuff going on here. We've got semifinals today, and then tomorrow the actual finals. We got Turnipboy versus Plastikqs, and Lazy
Plus,
Bear versus Shep.
yep,
I think we're
Shep's
starting off.
the hard one to pronounce because
Yeah,
it doesn't look like that, but it is Shep.
yeah.
Kind of
I
helps.
guess it's
You,
is it short for Shepherd? I don't know, possibly.
I don't know, potentially helps though because like audibly sounds different to Steph,
Yeah, yeah. I
which
like. Yeah, yeah. It would make sense if it was Shepherd. I don't know. Just guessing there. All right. Anyway, so we're gonna start off with Turnip Boy and Plastics. Let's see here. Where did my
So this is a pretty interesting matchup because in Challenger, for those who don't know, we ran a Swiss league, and one of the rules of Swiss is that you cannot play the same opponent twice. You always get a unique opponent every week. Um, but in week 8 of the Swiss league, Turnip Boy and Plastics did match up against each other. Um, and so we got the picks and bans there. I'll be interested to see if they change much. The result was a 7-3 in favor of Turnip Boy, which potentially could foreshadow tonight's match.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, Turnip Boy is the top seed, still in it, so it's it's gonna be a kind of tough for Plastiques, but I mean, heck, they both made it this far in the tournament. Plastiques
What
could be easily have improved.
Yeah, one of the great things about the Challenger League, just in general, is that there's still so many players are still so early into their development that there's gonna be such vast changes in both their experience and their play styles as they play through. So both of these players, when they had met earlier, they're gonna be probably entirely different players now, and it's gonna be a little bit hard to expect because, like for example, up in the old crusty divisions, I know a lot about what to expect from certain players. Sometimes I'm wrong; they still do develop up there, but I've tend to know what they've done and how they play, even if I haven't played them for a while. These players, there's so much that they could have learned and done and improved since the last time they met.
Not to mention, since the last time they met, Turnip Boy also entered into the Summer Cup, so he's had the opportunity to play even more matches against other opponents. So that just increases, I guess, the learning potential for
Yeah.
Turnipboy.
All right. Anyway, we can look at picks and bans now. The first ban came from looks like Plastikqs, and that was balcony.
Yep, balcony's the I guess catch-all ban for Plastics. Interestingly enough, he banned it about 57% over the season, but when they played each other in week 8, he left it open and Turnipboy insta-locked it, meaning that he wasn't going to allow that to happen. The ban previously was modern, so
Yeah.
I assume Turnipboy will pick that up in this draft.
Yeah. Well, I mean, most maps get picked. I mean, most maps that aren't banned get picked in this format. So
Oh
there's a
yeah,
very good
can we talk
chance.
about the format real quick?
Yeah. It's
Just
yeah. So it's basically the same as regular season. One ban each, and then instead of picking 2 maps each, it's 3 maps. The first map being doubled, and the rest being singles.
no.
So
And then
and
after
it's
that,
first to 9. Although, do we have? Is there a tiebreaker in this
there is a
format? Okay,
tiebreaker. If
yes,
you tie 8-8, we play a pick and cut
yes,
format
yes.
where
Okay,
the highest seed chooses who will do the picking and who will do the cutting. One person picks the map that they want to play on, and I guess it's not picking and cutting, and then the other player then picks whether they want to spy or snipe on it.
yep.
So it's a one match format, one game format for a tiebreaker.
All right. And let's see the next ban that came from the first ban came from Turnipboy anyway, and the only ban is Ballroom. Looks like the same map he banned on the previous game. Is that his sort of standard ban?
Yeah, standard ban, 42.8% over the entire season. A map that he doesn't feel too comfortable on. So definitely getting rid of it. Also one of Plastic's highest picked maps as well. So you get that kind of ban as well as, the ban that just suits you anyway.
I think that the theme so far has been uncertainty. Ballroom has a lot of uncertainty of being able to guard basically anything. It's one of the harder maps to guard. Swap is still swap, so it's not impossible. It's a little bit hard to be sure about Purloin. Amba is always going to be in a little bit of a dangerous spot because of the flow of the party. Microfilm, actually, the microfilm's not too bad
Yeah,
for the maps, but most of the things are a little bit hard to be certain about, and because it's a large-ish map on any 4 of 8, snipers are a little bit uncomfortable on that map, and right now you don't want your nerves to be put up against some uncomfortable play.
yep. All right, and the so now let's get into picks. First pick, actually, kind of surprised to see it picked quite this early, but well, if you like it, show it. Courtyard.
Yeah, so it's actually interesting. I found out what these guys were that they were playing, and I actually predicted the entire draft from bans to picks. These guys are pretty predictable when it comes to the maps they like, and Courtyard has been Plastic's home map for the entire of the season. Only issue is that, like you mentioned, it's early. Turnipboy also likes Courtyard; it's his
Yeah,
most as well. So from analytical point of view, I would be leaving that map open because it's going to come one day or another. But
yeah,
you do get it first.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
I
kind of the
personally,
cool thing, though,
yeah,
is I like that about the doubling of the first pick because you're absolutely right. If I have a specific favorite map and I know my opponent likes that map too, I leave it open because I'm
Mhm.
anticipating them picking it. But they might not pick it during their doubled map, and if I really want it to be doubled, it gives it a little bit of an extra incentive.
yeah,
Now, in the second round of picks, you definitely, if you know the other person likes it, you can definitely leave it open and then see if they pick it, and then pick it if they don't pick it. That's kind of the things I actually like about the doubling of the first pick is it changes the incentives a little bit so it's not just trading off. The other thing though about Courtyard, it's a great map to start off on if you have nerves. Again,
Yep.
this is a really easy map. Sorry, I shouldn't say really easy. It's a much more standard map. You're much more comfortable if
hmm
both sides honestly is kind of comfortable because you kind of know what you need to do as spy. You need to get a hard.
Yeah, I would say the win conditions of Courtyard are fairly simple, which makes it that comfortable map. And to justify Plastics picking this first, like you mentioned, because both players know this is their most picked map, Plastics has more incentive to pick it first because he's currently sitting on a 78% win rate overall on the map compared to the 68% win rate of Turnipboy. So for Plastikqs, he really wants this to be a double pick because it increases his chance of winning the series.
Yeah, makes
Interesting.
sense. All right. Anyway, the next pick map, actually a very commonly picked map this season, also a very commonly banned map, is Library.
Yeah, that's an interesting one because that's when Turnipboy is starting to mix things up because he's been banning library. He hasn't really picked it that
Yeah.
often.
Looks like he
I
picked
think
it
it's
last time
because
against
yeah, he picked
Plastikqs.
it last time. And when you actually look at Plastikqs' sniper win rate on library, it's deteriorated quite a bit. Used to be pretty high, but recently it's sitting at like under 50% at
Huh.
sniper. So you're at this point now where if Turnipboy is doing some sort of statistical research, then it makes a really good double pick.
Yeah. Maybe it's not really him getting worse, it's the other players getting better at Library, possibly.
Potentially, yeah.
You know. It can be, it can be an overwhelming map for some snipers. Just knowing where to look, when to look. All right, anyway, the next pick from Plastikqs, a very different map from Library, is High Rise.
I think
Very,
any 3 of 5 high rise, correct?
yep,
It's the soft
that's the
tail
only
variant.
that's the only High Rise in SCL
Yeah, and
this
I think
season.
Plastikqs has felt comfortable on high
Yeah,
rise, and so it makes sense to go for it. Especially like I always think that if you feel like you're slightly worse than your opponent, then picking up maps like any 3 of 5 high rise makes sense because it gives you that extra element of AI completions, which forces the sniper's hand.
yeah. All right. Anyway, next pick from Turnipboy is Modern. Yeah, we did in fact see it.
Yeah, like you mentioned, banned in week 8, so Boy whips it out just because he feels it might be Plastikqs' weak point.
Yeah, it could, well, I mean, it looks like 5 of 8 maps is the thing he's picking here.
I mean, just to give some idea of it, Turnip Boy overall 75% win rate on this map, whereas Plastikqs is a 69. But when you look at his sniper statistics, it's 100. So it's the spy that's lacking on modern. This is kind of the map you might expect that you trade wins on.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, final map pick out of Plastikqs is Pub. You know, I don't know what to say
Yeah.
about Pub. It's, I
Well,
guess
pub.
if you don't want to pick Veranda, you pick Pub.
That's true. It is true at this point. It's not so much about what they want to pick, but about what they don't want to pick. And Veranda has been incredibly unpopular.
Yeah.
And given that his opponent has been picking, well, also you could pick Terrace, but let's be honest.
Yeah.
And then you don't want to pick a 5 of 8 large map for your opponent at this point, especially given that. I mean, if I had to guess, I'm guessing that would be the next pickup for Turnip Boy, but could be wrong.
It could be.
But if you don't want to pick your opponent's pick for them at this point, and that's
Yeah.
what you're really trying to avoid.
Yeah,
I would
you don't want to
assume
give them like it's almost like, yeah, you're like, hey, thank you. Now I don't have to pick it. Now I can pick something else I like.
I would assume that Tenant Boy picks up Gallery as his last pick here.
You might be right about that. In fact, you are right. It is Gallery. I mean, it's
Nice.
Gallery is like a 5 of 8 map. That's not a 5 of 8 map.
True.
Mhm.
I mean, it has
These
It's
maps.
it's also a 4 of 8 map. That's not a 4 of 8
Yeah, yeah,
map. It's it's the size of it makes it very
yeah,
middle ground
yeah. Believe
between
it or
4 of
not,
8
when it was first introduced, we were doing 5 of 8 for a bit. Nobody was quite sure what was the fair meta,
Mhm.
and it seemed like 5 of 8 made sense at some point, just because you know.
Yeah, and
But
then we went four
that
of
was wrong.
seven, and
Yeah.
then so 4 of 7. There was a lot of interesting talk about what the correct mission to cut was,
Yeah,
and
that was interesting because this was one of the first maps where cutting contact seems like a viable option.
Viable. Yeah.
exactly,
Like because
yeah,
it was just like these two conversations. You're like contact is just like not as guaranteed. It gives so many lowlights away. You know.
Yep.
But yeah, but it's a very interesting map, and we'll hopefully get to there. I mean, it would have to be some pretty serious domination to not get there. So we'll see.
That's certainly true. Looking
All
forward
right.
to this. Like you mentioned, this is Turnipboy finished third regular season, seventh for Plastikqs, making them first and
Yep.
fifth seed respectively in the single limb. Winner of this match goes to finals, and in finals you've got the guarantee of finding yourself in a promotion scenario.
Yeah,
Winner
both
of the
finals are
finals
getting.
wins,
Yeah.
and the winner of the grand finals gets promoted automatically. The runner up plays, I believe it will be Mr. Rogers in a promotion match.
But well, there's a good chance that everybody will get promoted here, just because I imagine a pretty big format change for next season. Or not necessarily format change, but divisional adjustments.
It's true, but also you're going to be jockeying for position in those administrative
Yeah, for sure.
games.
Yeah,
Because the
it will.
difference of like
Yeah,
one
these
spot.
games still definitely matter, but
Well, yeah, no, it's not even that, but like, let's say because of the nature of how administration promotions work, the difference of one position could mean an entire division upwards, right? Like if you
yeah,
end up one position above your opponent, if there's administration promotions, eventually there's a line at which there's a cutoff, and all you above this line get to go up two divisions. All you above this line go up one division.
yeah,
So it's gonna be particularly interesting to see how that goes.
yeah. Because there's certainly going to be a lot of that next season, as you know. I guess it's pretty normal to lose a chunk of people just because this the stuff is pretty. This game is pretty hard, pretty intense. Some people just at some point you reach a point where it's just rough,
Yep,
and the
it's
whole
true.
and just of course the nature of time zones and everything. It can be hard for people to get matches set up. It's just not ideal for everybody. All right. Anyway, we'll actually get into the match here. We got Turnipboy as the first spy. I guess could have mentioned that. Turnipboy was the higher seed, so he requested to pick map second, and spy first, which was that's sensible. I've chosen to spy first a number of times, but then I think later on I found I liked sniping first better. But anyway, we'll see how this goes. You both ready?
Yep.
Yes.
All right, awesome. I shall count it down. 3, 2, 1, playing it.
I think the decision to spy first kind of shows that Turnipboy is confident that he will find himself an early spy win to get the leg up over Plastikqs.
Yeah, and as far as easing into the game, I actually do prefer spying first, where you get to right when you start sniping, you have to be on it immediately. You have to start turning around. You have to find where's Ambo, where's Toby, what are time ads at? Did someone do an early swap? Where with spy, you get to let AI control, and then maybe you just kind of let that guide what your first move is going to be. You're probably just going to go for it first, like we're seeing, but it's a little bit simpler.
I'll be really interested to see exactly what Turnipboy wants to do on Courtyard here. Typically, he does the normal 3 missions of the contact, inspect, seduce. But when it comes to that pesky 4th mission on Courtyard, it tends to be a fingerprint that he will lean into, not really wanting to go for the hardtails. We'll have to see if he changes things up, though, because Plastikqs' Courtyard sniper rate is pretty bonkers. 16 sniper games this season and a whopping 94% success rate of sniper. Also, 100% shot rate as well. So Plastikqs likes to shoot.
And I don't know what the research rate of challenger players is. So I don't know if Turnipboy has been looking into Plastikqs games and noticing the ways in which he's been successful at sniper. For example, some people are very successful on Courtyard if they highly guard fingerprint because so many spies are unwilling to do the hardtail on Courtyard. So I'm not sure if it's so much that he's particularly excellent at Courtyard, but he might just be good at playing the meta that spies kind
Ooh.
of settle into.
White contact into white purloin into gold, statues next to the ambassador. Turnipboy is definitely switching things up here. Oh no, we pick up the briefcase next to the ambassador. It's an action test as a priority difference. Turnipboy steps away. Kind of a nice little AI move there, but Plastikqs
Yeah.
is like, that doesn't look right. I'll shoot for it. And that will be, unfortunately, Turnipboy losing that spy game.
Yeah, that definitely was not quite accurate. I mean, it might have been better to just put it down in that spot. Just, I mean, it was wrong either way, but
The briefcase is actually correct after he's picked it up. An AI tends to not be able to put the briefcase down there. Only the ambassador can due to the pot plant. However, like you mentioned, picking up the briefcase in that scenario is a hard tell.
Yep.
And it all
Yeah.
comes down to the fact that briefcase is the number one.
I mean, there could be
priority
some like
item in the
scenario where the ambassador had put it down, left, and then came back,
Yeah,
and it could.
Obviously, if the ambassador was walking to there, but she'd just put it down.
Yeah.
So
Yep. It's unfortunate, but yep, action priorities do crop up. They get all they get all of us at one point or another.
And
I think statue pickup has to become a number one action priority, in my opinion.
Yep, I would agree with that.
it's true. Like we have a thread out there about what the absolute action priority should be, and we've complained about checker a few times. But what I will give action priorities being a little bit odd is that it makes sure that everybody is paying attention to the little things, making sure that you're paying attention to all the little actions you have to do to play correctly. It's sort of like the justification for action tests at all is action tests in and of themselves aren't very difficult, or they're not very complicated, right? They're that little bit of extra thoughtfulness that you can't just put your mind on autopilot. And unfortunately, it sometimes is kind of rough because you're just trying to pick up the damn statue, and there's a briefcase there, and you're not paying attention to the text that pops up. But it's just another testament to how spy you have to be on it all the time. You have to constantly be thinking about the little things.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I mean, because kind of the thing is like when a statue is next to a briefcase next to a statue. I mean, AI will more often pick up the briefcase than the statue, assuming the
Yeah,
ambassador's not there. So
Right.
a lot of times that's the thing you'd probably want to do more often, but just definitely not in that case.
yeah, no, not in that case. One other thing before we move on, just to talk about it a little bit more, is that briefcase is number one priority when you step over it. The second priority, I believe, is sip drink. The third priority is gold drink, and then it's pick up statue. So unfortunately for Turnipboy, not only does he have a scenario where to gulp his drink at statues, he has to scroll multiple times, which is fine because that's the compromise you make for committing a hardtail and gulp is that you then have to take time and break etiquette. But even worse is that he has to then, navigate the briefcase pickup as well. So unfortunately, it doesn't work out, but we do move on.
Yep. All right. Anyway, that's one win for Plastics. That's probably feeling pretty good about that. I mean, even though it's kind of a you know kind of a sneaky win, you'll take them. And anyway, Plastics gets his chance to pull ahead as Spy here in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
The silver lining there, though, is if you're gonna throw away a spy game, it might as well be Courtyard. Like it always sucks to throw it away, but in the end, it's on a map that's pretty difficult to win a spy. If you threw away a game on, say, High Rise Any 3 of 5, that would hurt a lot more.
Yeah, no, I have to agree there, and particularly because these guys are both very strong as sniper. When it comes to Courtyard, this is kind of the map where you expect that you're going to trade wins regardless. Plastics here, though, does add time to start us off, and now is idling in a conversation with the double agent. Uh, Going from completions to a guy on Courtyard who just doesn't complete. A 62.5% win rate on Courtyard with a tiny 1875% completion rate. Plastikqs forces missed shots more often than not when it comes to Courtyard, usually through his immense ability to hit green action tests, potentially the highest in Challenger. It feels like every action test is green. And so we'll have to watch out for that because purloins, swaps, all of the above can be pretty powerful for Plastikqs.
And knowing his action test rate is interesting because he red flirted at Orange Dress, and so that makes me wonder if that's intentional. It was her at Windows, so that'd be a little bit of an on spot to red flirt. It's not really forcing her to do something she wouldn't
in the
have
end of
done
red.
pretty soon. But I'm curious if she's going to go for a frame on Orange Sari.
That's the contact now completed. We've got a first fingerprint here as well for Plastikqs, giving ourselves a lot of insurance. And of course, that extra time ad we did at the beginning of the game, the 45 seconds, means that we do have time to be playing slightly slow. Here comes our first flirt. It is a white test, 34%. We're standing close to the ambassador, maybe we can find ourselves in a position to bug if she comes the right way. Doesn't? Oh, she does. But we decide to go against it, and looking at the sniper cam, probably a wise decision.
Yeah, the arm would have poked out directly towards Plastikqs. Now, Plastikqs was almost close enough that you could have done a standing bug through the conversation, but it was just a little bit too far, which is actually not a bad play on Courtyard, on the small conversation circles in the corner of Courtyard.
Pick up the briefcase, but there was no fingerprint on it, I believe, or we didn't fingerprint, one of the two. Either way, that's it's the second time the sniper's seen us interacting with the briefcase, and if you're not tracking the fingerprints perfectly, you might just attribute fingerprint done to Plastikqs.
Yeah, so I'm guessing that Plastikqs is going to be really interested in hitting that fingerprintable statue up at some point if they're able to get their seduction done. Now, I don't know how much heat Plastikqs has for. It looks like we are stepping into that right, and we're just going to die for it.
Yeah, look at that. At this point, Turnipboy takes the shot, essentially assuming contact, fingerprint, and the seduce has been done. It's a really bold shot from Turnipboy, but it is going to be a correct one after all.
I wonder if the second.
Yeah, it was fingerprintable. Second, the briefcase does say picked up fingerprintable briefcase, so.
So we forgot to fingerprint. That's unfortunate.
Just forgot.
Yeah, I guess
there
that's
you go. Yeah,
comes
there it
down
is.
to the fact that we reject. Oh, I know what it is. He rejects Toby, so he uses the right click or whatever it is to reject Toby. Assumes that's a fingerprint done, and that's unfortunate.
Whoops.
Bad. Oh, so well then that's fair, you know. Action priorities.
Yeah.
They double-edged sword.
That one's actually just that's a mechanical mistake because I believe
It's just the wrong button. I've done that
Yeah.
myself many
That's true.
times. Just there's certainly plenty of times where I've like just hit the normal button.
You have to
instead
reject
of the spy
Toby or cycle to fingerprint, one of the two.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming his idea was reject Toby, fingerprint, and then put it down, but
Yep.
didn't work out.
As long as we agreed that both these games are Checker's fault, and then it's just you got to get those Checker games out of the way, and then you move on.
That's it.
Yep. All right. Anyway, so we're right off to a sniper party. Pretty expected for Courtyard, especially with these two pretty sniper heavy players here, and we'll see if that'll continue in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Till walking through the middle of a conversation to start things off. I don't think that's going to be too much of a worry for Plastikqs. Not really the kind to note these things down. Plastikqs kind of plays a hybrid. I want to say camping into behavioralist style. I think camping is probably the number one priority for him, but he definitely he scrimmed a lot against Fury when he was learning the game. And so there's some form of like behaviorist knowledge there that comes into his play.
I've seen a lot of players that have kind of taken a new flavor of behavioralism where they'll start behavioralist and they'll finish as campers, where they use the behavioralism to narrow down the party based upon the general, where people are ending up, how they're acting, and then just assign lowlights because people tend to flirt early. And then using that knowledge, using that narrowed down party, we'll try to finish the spy off with camping.
Have to see if that's what's going on here. I don't believe Plastikqs is the one to lowlight much. It's more of suspicious behaviorism, I believe. But at this point, Turnipboy is doing well. We're at the minute 45-second mark, and we've got our contact and our seduce done in 2. So now we're thinking, how do we finish here? Statues, obviously going to be a good bet, but do we find fingerprints as well?
One thing I'm already noticing is I think that these players don't pick caste. They've picked ambassadors that I would say are strictly dominated in some form or another. Like you could have, sometimes you want a slow ambassador, sometimes you want a fast ambassador, but in each of those classes, there's a larger frame, there's a blah, 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 blah. One thing I will give to Papa Danger being ambassador is ever since the King nerf, it's not as much of a problem to put Papa Danger as ambassador because you know that you're taking him out of the suspect pool. But it does mean that I think that and the seduction targets have been slow both games, and that's a little bit inefficient. Then again, if they're looking at flirt enough, they might not think that your flirt suspect is going to be the slow characters because of the Yomi involved. But
I do wonder if there's much Yomi going on, especially in Challenger. I think the levels of inexperience and the fact that you don't really play each other multiple times kind of lends to it just being a very raw game. We've got 30 seconds left here, Slappy. We attempt a reverse drive-by behind the back bug onto Kane, but it doesn't quite connect. Now we have to think about how we're going to finish. Halving towards the Ambassador, it's going to be another attempt at a walking bug. Has it gone unseen? Teal's walking bug is not good. Doesn't look like Plastikqs is on top of this. 2 seconds left. This is a spy win for Turnipboy.
Yes, that was very visible. So
Yeah,
we
it was. I wonder what.
so maybe it was like list or something. I'm trying to figure out where we were looking at that time.
I don't know. It doesn't look like he's looking. I mean, he's looking at briefcase, maybe.
Yeah. So let's see. So usually when snipers are in rotation, they tend to look in the direction that they're rotating, unless they're rotating to get a better angle on a specific person. But it may have been the briefcase. But that's interesting because it was a low light that was picking up briefcase. Maybe we were just checking for swap. I'm not quite sure what we're looking
but
at.
nobody had.
One.
I mean, yeah, there. I guess the twin had been to that statue, but that was.
Well,
that was kind
Turnipboy
of a
takes
while ago.
advantage of the movement, though.
Yeah, I don't know what it was, but anyway, that was.
So Plastikqs says that he was actually looking for bug, but as we all know, movement on courtyard can be one of the main reasons people miss bugs. Is it's harder to see the animation when you're in motion.
Yep. All right. Anyway, Turnipboy takes the first spy win of the set, and on courtyard 2, that's a pretty big advantage, essentially. Let's see if you can capitalize on that and take the win overall for this this map or venue. I mean, I'll get that one of these days. All right. Anyway, here we go. We got red dress here in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
As someone who watches a ridiculous amount of other competitive esports, map is ingrained into my mind. Unfortunately, Plastikqs struggles to get onto that pad there, but I don't think it's been spotted.
I don't think we're going to be getting rid of map anytime. It's going to be, but by the communities that are going to come into SpyParty, it's going to be. You're right. It's too ingrained. I do wonder if Turnipboy is going to feel like he's on a little bit of borrowed time, as it were, because we were not confident in that bug. We were just trying to do something to finish. We probably thought it was like a 25-30% play at that point, but that was our best remaining play. But we were able to get away with it. So I'm wondering if Turnipboy is going to feel like a little bit relieved, I guess, more than confident at this point.
Yeah, I'll have to see how this one does play out. Of course, this courtyard pick here isn't the map choice that we are looking to win it on. Library coming up for Turnipboy, and that's a map that he's done well on, and unfortunately Plastikqs has faltered. We do see that Plastikqs has started the game off with a contact and a 25% flirt. Now we're stepping over to statues to pick up our inspects. We'll have to see where Plastikqs wants to find that hardtail as well, whether it early or late. Doesn't look like the statue swap will come through, so we do put it back.
One critique I do have of players in general, this isn't just challenger players by any means, is that we saw this last game too. It's that spies just like doing missions, and so we're gonna feel really productive when we do contact and we do inspect and we do seduce, and then all we have left is the hardtail. But then if we think forward to that point, sometimes it's better to try to plan to do that hardtail first, because now what you're doing is you're trading the ability to only do one more thing for a highlight, which is going to make the hardtail part harder. And so now it's not necessarily a bad decision, because what it means is you're going to have a lot of options at the end, and we are going to check our watch. We did
right
just
under
have
the
a beat
nose
beforehand, though.
Yeah, that was literally under the nose of the sniper. Turnipboy doesn't move. He doesn't react in movement. Potentially that's because he saw it and now is just going to watch closer. But here we go. Plastikqs finishing up the flirt. And now we have a minute and 20 seconds to figure this one out. Toby, potentially a good choice if we get a reject chain going. The Ambassador's pretty close here. Maybe we can find the bug on the way out of the conversation. Or even behind the back one if he paths next to us. Toby's going to provide some cover as well. Here it is. Green Purloin is the decision. No reject chain though, and offering to orange dress here, but she rejects as well. We got a chain forming.
All right, well, and it's going to be a highlight that takes it. It looks like we're Okay,
No.
and highlight. Well, okay, we have quite a chain going now.
A watch check next to the ambassador. It's a brave move. Sometimes you see it out of the corner of your eye and you think, bug, all right, there it is. Gestos has been purloined, taken by the double agent. 2 highlights in the reject chain, and now we're being offered to Plastikqs. This is a spy win.
Yeah.
Plastikqs is going to equalize the series.
So the funny thing there is that's when DA sometimes it's horrible for DA to take the purloin because it confirms that it's a green, but sometimes it's great because sometimes snipers just don't pay attention to it, right? Drink is being offered to a DA, why look at it? But that burns us, and we don't even take a shot at that point. Maybe we didn't think that whoever had done it had finished missions, but at 30th seconds left on Courtyard, I was a little bit surprised that either Papa Danger or Red Dress didn't get shot.
So my assumption there, and speculation, was that either Turnipboy didn't see that it
Yeah, it's
was gone,
possible. Doesn't
or
seem
he
like he's
just
doing
miscounted.
much. Doesn't look like there's much reaction to the purloin. Like there's no like directing the laser at the tray or anything in particular. So possible that it
Right.
was just missed.
Yeah, and that's like the DA thing. It's offered to DA, you're not paying attention, and by the time you check again, it's just not there, and the game's over.
Yeah. Yeah, very good. Good job, Plastikqs. We're pulling out a spy win there and keeping it even. Those are good ways to sort of, kind of pump up your confidence going into the future sets.
Yeah, unfortunately, we are going into
Yep.
the map pick that we've played a lot, but unfortunately not done too well on. This is a rough one for Plastikqs. This is kind of the map that he gets burnt on more often than not.
Oh, so apparently in chat we're seeing that Turnipboy was watching when DA took the list, but looked away before it had faded. So a little bit of because sometimes there's the difference of the timing of the fade. So we guarded it for the initial one if it was one of the quick fades, but we looked away before it had actually disappeared, and that's brutal. But sometimes that happens in the randomness of the fades.
Yep.
Yep. All right. Anyway, so either way, they're tied up going into this map. We'll see if Turnipboy can pull away on Plastikqs' weaker maps here in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Yeah, and this is quite a large difference on library. Turnipboy's running with about 100% sniper rate. It just is 100% sniper rate. And his spy is all right. It's sitting at 43%. I think that's fine. But when you compare it to Plastikqs' seasonal stats, 42% sniper rate versus the 33% spy rate, this is a map that Plastikqs has to be coming into with some form of nervousness and Turnipboy confidence.
We're able to get the standing bug as Ambassador joins us in conversation, which is a nice pickup. Now, Bug is one of the easier maps to get by on Library, so it's not quite as huge as it would be on, say, Courtyard to get that early bug out of the way, but it is a nice pickup, and we're going to be at 85% on Seduce. So we have got really good pacing already.
Yeah, really nice stuff. And the Seduce. Only one more to go. At any range, at this point, Turnipboy can either lean into the fact that he's speeding through the missions, or we can just take our time here. Also, have to decide what we're going to do as far as tells are concerned. Do we, now that we have the bug early, look for the fingerprints on the map, or will we commit another hard tell? Either way, that's 2 missions done in 1:20, and we can continue debating this for a little bit longer.
Yeah, I would like to not see a double agent yet if we could help it, and try to finish. I think finishing with double agent on Library is quite strong. It's snipers really don't like shooting for double agent in general, but especially not on Library. I think we were hoping for a fingerprint on this book because we had seen the briefcase was at this bookshelf, so we know Ambassador had been there. But by the time we had gotten there, it looks like it had been taken away, and we elect not to take out the microfilm. I'm wondering if Turnipboy thinks they might have a highlight for being near Ambassador. They are not indeed highlight. I think if they had known they were not highlight, they might have taken that book out and tried for a hard transfer. But instead, we put it back in.
Unfortunately, my game just crashed, so if you gentlemen wouldn't mind pausing.
Oh, sure.
Just continuing the checker please trend of this cast.
Gotcha. Well, okay. So while we're loading back in, so I'm paused at 142.
I'm
While we're
at
loading back in,
yep, I'm at 143.
okay. So I'll start a second after you
Yep, all
when
right.
you rejoin. Um, and I'm gonna look at the game a little bit. So I think we were hoping for fingerprint. So I was incorrect about there had been two guesses. It's actually that Ambassador had never put the book back yet. So we saw the briefcase at Blue Bookshelf earlier, but I think we had not seen Ambassador.
Yeah,
And so
that's
we were hoping that the briefcase had indicated that the ambassador put it back, but indeed the ambassador had taken out the book and had not put it back yet. So we might actually try for that fingerprint after this now.
yeah,
And then being seen,
that is likely. Looks like I mean like I feel like that's like the only reason that like we're in this conversation right here. I don't know what else, you'd really be doing.
right, and actually being seen at the same bookshelf twice is, kind of not suspicious, right?
Yeah.
So we might be able to maybe in a weird way visiting that blue bookcase earlier set us up for for a fingerprint later, unintentionally perhaps. But I'm guessing that'll be the next move, but it's hard to tell.
All right,
Yeah.
gentlemen. I've paused my game on 143.
All right,
So if you
awesome.
want to count us back in.
Yeah, all right, awesome. Let's go in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
So Turnipboy, like you mentioned, might go for that fingerprint now. It's two visits to the blue bookshelf. It kind of helps with lowering suspicion on yourself, especially if the sniper sees it. We take a very wide path behind the ambassador to try and look like we're not bugging. I think Plastikqs probably would see that as well, but here it is. Straight over to the blue bookshelf. We do get that fingerprint now. And Plastikqs kind of watching us, wondering what's going on.
Yeah, it looks like Plastics took a second to mark that book. So it doesn't look like we get a highlight for the book. I'm sure that Turnip Boy thinks he's highlight because of how long the laser was on us. It almost looked like if I was honestly Spy, I would have thought it was debating shooting. So I think that Turnip Boy might be nervous. Maybe I'm wrong though because we just add time at the windows right after.
Yeah, time ad does come through. And, when you looked at it from the sniper point of view, he was just resting his laser on the middle of the screen where Toby and the ambassador were very clearly in sight. So there was a lot to look at, and probably it wasn't Irish. We do step over to the statues. We're going to pick up our inspects here. Unfortunately, this is a 3 cycle started up, and we do cut the animation. But hey, it's library. He's not looking, so it's all good.
Yeah, it's a library with a ton going on the other side of the map. All the action is on the other side of the map, and so we actually kind of get fortunate there. It also seems like Plastikqs isn't a statue highlighter, so it's either something that Plastikqs internalizes, and so it might be hard for us to tell how suspicious Turnip Boy is if he's one of the players that just thinks about statues instead of shows it. But I'm curious what we're doing. So I'm assuming that we're gonna really want to fingerprint and contact. Is this a fingerprintable
Yeah,
statue? It sure
it
is.
is. Yep. Yeah, this is really nice pacing. We step over, pick up the statue, get the fingerprint. Double Agent is standing in conversation with the ambassador, so there is reason to watch us. Look at that. Plastikqs is going to take the shot, finds the 2 fingerprints, knows the inspects are done, and thinks that's about right.
Yeah, it must have been just looking at other stuff. Maybe just hmm.
Yeah, I'm.
Well,
So
I
I
just
don't.
wonder because he looks at like the statue itself to see if it's swapped. But
Well, it might have
I don't know
been
why
just
you
that
do
like
that if you're
moment.
just gonna shoot for the
The other thing
fingerprint
is,
anyway. Maybe it was just the wheel.
after we've
Maybe the wheels were
after we've
turning.
had the time, we've had the time ad as well. So
Yeah.
let's not forget that Turnip Boy adds time, and Plastikqs is literally staring down Irish as it happens, and kind of does a double glance just to check to see who's at the different
Yep.
pads. And so you already know, if you've seen that time ad, that this character is pretty suspicious. You know that
Yep.
they've done their inspects and their fingerprints. So at that point, it's pretty good shot.
Yep.
Right. And it's especially good not to shoot someone at Windows on library if you see a time ad, because there's so many spots on library. There could have been another time ad. And you know that the spy is not going to be done yet. They're going to do one more thing. So you could very well be right that the time ad was caught, and then we're just waiting for one thing to confirm it.
All right. Anyway, that is right. Well, anyway, we're up, so Plastikqs is up by 1. Has a chance to pull ahead here on his least successful maps, which would be pretty good to see. We'll find out if you can do that in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
And this is an interesting spy choice here. Pearls. I don't know many people who actually see pearls or orange dress on a big map like Modern or Library and go, that can't be the spy, they're the slowest. But it does kind of make us slightly less obvious because we're so slow. We're always seen moving, and I think potentially the sniper might feel a little bit good about the fact that you're not getting much done as these characters.
The advantage to Pearls and Starry is going to be bug opportunities. Now, bug opportunities are going to be kind of plentiful on Library regardless. But if we are walking and Ambassador follows us, we have Wheels who's slightly faster than us. And so we might be able to do a walking bug. Now, on Library, it's a bit hard. It's not like Gallery is really the best map for that. So I'm not sure if that was our intent. Oh, and we it looks like we get caught for the time ad, or at least we are one of the top suspects for it.
Wow, that's a rough start for Plastics here. Time ad pretty much puts us back to the start of the game as well. So we're starting the game off with a big fat highlight, and you can see from Turnipboy's laser movement, this is him guarding the microfilm animation very closely, wanting to find Plastics, triggering that transfer so we can shoot him right here and right now. Plastics is holding this book. I think we've hit the maximum amount of read animations, so we do put it back. And now for Plastics, it's all about how do I get out of this dire situation I found myself in.
And yeah, he's the sniper. I believe is incredibly suspicious of Plastics because the sniper's doing this one thing that I kind of love that players do. I don't know if they do it intentionally, but as they move the laser from left to right, they dip around the spy where they actually go under the feet just to make it look like they're intentionally avoiding them when actually it's more suspicious or it shows more intent than it would be if you just had the laser pass over. But it's just like an intuitive thing that snipers do. And when I see that, if I'm able to actually notice that as spy, I immediately think I'm screwed.
Okay, here we go. Stepping into statues, we've got our flirt up to 68%. Now, if Turnipboy is sitting at about 90% confirmation that Pearls is the spy, then a middle statue triple inspect could be enough to shoot at this point. Plastics gets his 3 inspects. Does look like we're not going to swap just yet. A little bit early on the map, and it does reduce the targets down to just about 2. Now we still have to find some mission progress, and it's still not looking great.
Yeah, we are keeping white dress in the peripheral of our vision so much. Now, the library is a little bit odd to cast sometimes because you actually see different amounts depending on what your monitor is. So I can't tell exactly if the spy is always on screen. But let's say that Turnip Boy has a relatively similar sized monitor to me. He is keeping white on the edge of his screen almost the entire time, and that
3-9 time ad. Yeah. Yeah,
That
as
did
soon
it.
as soon as the spy sees that the time ad has slowed down, it's about time to take that shot.
Yeah, I,
Yep.
I think that was just an early catch, and
Yep.
then
Yeah, that was just unfortunate.
yeah, and also, but to note, we really didn't have much done this spy, so it's possible that Plastikqs knew how suspicious they were, but they weren't getting stuff done. And unfortunately, as we mentioned at the beginning, starting as pearls, you kind of need a time ad on library unless you are doing some sort of insane rush, right? And so we're doing kind of the right thing. We recognize that it's going to be difficult. We do an early time ad, so way before we know we're going to need it, but we could assume we need it based on the fact that we're a pretty slow character. We're doing a lot of transit time, but we get caught immediately for it.
Yep. All right. Anyway, I mean, Plastic's doing pretty well to keep pace with Turnip Boy. So still, anything can happen in the set. As Turnip Boy steps in as spy for as Rocker, that should we'll see if Turnip Boy can pull ahead once again here in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
And some people pick cast, some people don't. Some people pick spy, some people don't. Can't remember Turnip Boy's philosophy on this. I did have a chat to him after my match in regular season, but Rocket is his most picked spy character by a decent amount of percent. And on library, it's really good due to the fact that you kind of blend in surprisingly. Despite your bright yellow outfit, it seems a little bit ambiguous of a character, but also it's one of the best microfilm animations when it comes to that action test. So if Turnipboy wants to transfer the microfilm, then he has a great character for it.
Yeah, actually, I shouldn't say this, but I will. I actually completely agree. I love Rocker as my picks. I know that whenever I'm trying to figure out who to pick and I can't
Oh no.
decide on someone. Interesting. Okay, so okay, we get the fingerprint. The return was a bit awkward,
Yep,
and we're
it was
marked
very awkward.
suspicious. Okay.
Plastics is all over it. I think briefcase animation etiquette is actually something Plastics is really good at, and so you don't want to be making mistakes like that.
Well, oh, we do get the bug though. I actually didn't think that was going to
Ooh.
connect because Teal makes up her mind at the last second to go in a different direction. But actually, that might have been the bug we could get off with a highlight in that scenario because if Ambassador had walked all the way through, our arm was going to be more visible than it already was. Then again, Plastics could have seen it and is just holding their shot because they know they can't be done yet. Again, we're also seeing where Plastics might just be barely keeping Turnipboy on their screen. They're also not looking at the statues over to the right. There we go. So I was thinking we're really suspicious if we're giving up territory.
Yeah, no, but constantly keeping Plastics in view here. Turnipboy is not really getting escape from this, and I do think that there is 100% possibility that bug could be caught just due to the way the sniper cam sat sat on Rocker for so long afterwards. It's kind of like you're internalizing: do I shoot now or do I wait? Plastics is going to wait. We do step to side statues here, pick up our first inspects as well as potentially a swap. We'll have to see. Uh, you can see that Plastics is tilting his laser to watch for the swap here. And so if Turnipboy is keeping track of the laser movement, then he has to know he's possibly top suspect.
Yeah, no, because it's been like a good 15, 20 seconds since we've looked at the right side of the statues. We've just now seen it. If there if something had happened over there, it would have been absolutely devastating for Plastics. But Plastics is, I think, correctly tunneling on Turnipboy at this point. Now there's two book fingerprints that are open right or about to be open, assuming that Ambassador puts it back in yellow. And okay, so that one's not open yet, but we still do have a fingerprint opportunity at blue. Oh,
Oh,
trigger's
safety's
already
off.
off.
Yeah.
All right.
Green time ad caught and fairly quick talk in that conversation there. So Plastics essentially doing the same treatment of the previous game
Yep.
allows Turnipboy to move around a little bit before being shot.
Yep. All right, and yeah, and I'll look at that briefcase return again. In my estimation, most AI would have given up and not attempted to
Yep.
return with the ambassador in that position. It was just, pretty much, if her back is up against a wall, don't just give up. Just put it down
That
wherever
spot
you
is
are.
tricky.
Yeah.
If the ambassador is just slightly more to the right, then AI will return it because there is
Yeah.
a tiny bit of area behind the back that AIs can return to. But that was not it in that scenario.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, Turnipboy 100% should have just put it down.
Yep.
The rule of thumb, at least the one that I use, I don't know how exactly accurate it is if Toby wouldn't offer you a drink there, you can't return there.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean,
Sometimes
general.
true.
I mean, maybe this is too saying too much, but most of the time, if the ambassador is moving, I have an opportunity to just put the briefcase down and not do a return. Generally, that's what I will do, just because it's just less time with me holding the briefcase, less time for the sniper to notice that I had even picked up a briefcase.
The other thing is that when you see the ambassador in tight areas like that, you can see the personal space meter start ticking down. And so even if you are incorrect on your idea that
Yeah.
the AI would return, the ambassador's going to be gone by the time you've put the briefcase
Yep.
down or by the time another AI picks it up. So you're not going to get that AI confirmation to give that AI confirmation to the sniper because by the time the next AI picks it up, the ambassador has moved.
I have mind blown by Rocker having a phone. I believe Yep. They has an iPhone, I believe.
Yep.
Boots has the same phone.
And
There's a
also, it's one of the longest time ad animations. It takes
Yep.
about 5 seconds in total.
Yeah, and I think there was a bug for a while with I think it was Rocker where the phone
It was upside down, right?
well, it was upside down, but also wasn't it outside of her body for a while so that when she
Uh,
would bug, a cell phone would fly around for a
yeah,
second?
Oh my
that
god.
possibly happened. Yeah, I believe. So. I do. I mean, I remember it being upside down for sure. That was it.
Yeah. There was something where it's like Rocker's phone was like because it actually literally is hidden. All of their phones and stuff,
Yeah,
if they take an item out, it's literally hidden in their model during
yeah.
the
I've
game.
actually, yeah. I mean, I've looked in a lot of the models, and yeah,
And
Taft's watch is like in
Taps
his.
is in Generals is in his head somewhere, right?
Well, no,
Am I
it's on
correct in
his.
that?
Well, the texture is
In
on
his
his
hat.
hat. Is
Yeah.
under his hat.
Yeah. Strange.
Yeah, you know, details. But
yeah,
anyway, here we go. We'll move on to actual Spy Party play. We'll see if Plastics can actually take a lead here. This has been a lot of back and forth with these two players. I think we were expecting uh, Turnipboy to kind of smash on this map, but hasn't been happening yet. So Turnipboy is actually sniping for just a tie on Library. See if you can do it here in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
His 100% sniper win rate says that he can, but like you mentioned, Plastics has survived Turnip's spy. Turnip Boy actually having one of the best spies in the entirety of the Challenger division, very marginally the best in the regular season. So it's the place to be if you're Plastics.
if Plastics was tracking or trying to track, sorry, if Turnipboy was trying to track seduction, there were so many people joined in pads at useless spots like windows and statue pads, stuff like that. There was a really interesting opportunity to try to pair people. It
Ooh.
would have all been wrong, but it was just interesting. Oh, you get
Oh, I love this. Plastic screens purloins, takes a drink immediately after. Everything's off sniper camera. And now he's seen taking a drink and the guest list hasn't been taken yet. Will we get a reject? Oh, we do. It's perfect. Seek rejects. And now it's going to be offered to another AI who's going to reject as well. This is a long chain and Plastics has a drink. This is the best chance to find a low light.
Yes, there's such a trade-off with this where so the downside of getting the so you have to Toby has to not give a drink to somebody else because you can't request enough. You can't get it back to you usually in time to be able to request.
Oh, he gets
you
it.
got a low light, right?
Lovely.
All right, that's pretty heads up. You're right. This
That's,
was a great play.
At this point, Plastics is going to go fairly invisible because this low light, when it comes for Purloin, is going to be a relatively hard one in most snipers' eyes, especially Turnip Boys. And so if Plastics can now just play this game out fairly well, then he should have the spy win. The thing that's going to burn us is if we believe that highlight is a low light. But after you've made that play to deliberately fish for a low light, I think you have to assume you got the low light.
I would hope so. And you're right that's the way we lose at this point because this low light on us is pretty hard. Like this is a pretty confident low light. So this would be pretty hard to shake at this point unless we do something like a microfilm animation is one of the few things you could do, or if they see the swap animation. There's not too many things to bring us back at this point. Except the biggest liability is probably just finishing, as you said. Right now, it seems we're just going for the timer flirt, which is not the worst idea considering that we have Pearls and she's going to be moving in transit a lot. Although, actually, no. Now we give up on that. We had,
Yeah,
we
no,
had spent like good 20 seconds there
ooh.
already.
I really dislike the fact that we did spend so long, about half the flirt time, but I also really dislike that we're going to side statues here. Plastics is playing this too safe, in my opinion. You've fished for the low light, you've got the low light, but we are going to swap this statue. This is a good start. Green swap, we'll have to find out if a low light or a highlight picks it up, and if Turnip Boy spots it. We're looking for the flirt, but it was too long waiting. And it's going to be Pearls moving. In conversation with the double agent, though. Oh, it is a low light picking it up. This may be rough for Plastics because this could be one of the
Double
only
Agent
ways that you
leaves.
get back into it. Double Agent leaves as well. It's starting to unravel potentially. Turnip Boy, he has highlights. He hasn't seen the swaps come through just yet. Still looking towards his highlights, especially at Book. And oh, actually, this is a really nice position in conversation with Plastics. Almost just blocks the statue from Turnip Boy's view. Pearl's helping out a massive amount. 3 missions done. 30 seconds left. We need to find one more inspect. We need to find a bug. Oh, we go for the bug, but it doesn't connect. Sniper laser on top of us, but I'm not sure that it was seen. That's terrible. 19 seconds left. Rough time. We can't go to the statue. We will lose if we go to the statue. We'll time out.
It's
Surely.
True. Yeah, you're complete. Oh, wait, fingerprint, but we don't have the other one.
No.
I think this is. I think we lose. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
and
such a shame.
that's sad. That is one of the sad ways that we could lose that game, is a
Why
timeout.
you do this to us, Plastic? I mean,
I have to assume that we felt the highlight was too strong.
yeah.
I think you're right that we must have felt like we were highlight by going to side statues. Otherwise, we would have just gone straight to
Yeah.
middle statues.
Oh, we thought he had the bug. No, that's even worse. That's even more heartbreaking. You walk
Oh.
past the amber.
I don't know.
You start it just a second too late. Think you have the bug.
Right.
Doesn't connect, and you go to the statue with full confidence that this is a GG at the end of the day.
Right. That's horrible. Like, and so at least it wasn't
Yeah,
a
let's look at that.
decision making thing, because it was a losing decision to go to that statue at that point.
Yeah, I don't know why
but
you
at least
wouldn't
it
just.
makes sense now. But well, he thought he had the bug,
Yeah,
and so
but I mean, there's a
now
statue
that
right here. He
decision making
couldn't.
makes sense.
You know, there's like a statue right next to him. He could.
You can't bug and get the statue at the same time.
I mean, you
Hardly.
can if you have a low light.
If you stop. Yeah, I guess that's true. If you stop or bounce, then you can. But it's one of those things that you don't know you have a low light. You should know that you have a low light, but you don't. And so yeah, there's plenty of reasons that you don't make that decision, but that would have been GG if the bug did connect.
Now, the interesting thing is also that Turnipboy held their shot. We had seen Purloin and Swap off, assuming that Turnipboy noticed
But
this.
no contact.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say the contact leaving was really maybe the biggest moment of this game, besides the low light and the play to get the low light, because by not showing contact, snipers are really reluctant to shoot. But I think that if there had been a contact that had gone off, it would be really hard to have 3 missions showing essentially for the sniper and for them not to shoot somebody.
Yeah, but anyway, I mean, really here, Turnipboy kind of just got a bit lucky here with this win.
Yep,
I agree.
It could have easily have gone the other way. So I mean, Turnipboy, I'm sure after this match felt pretty good for getting the win, but then he's like, oh, I low lit the spy here.
I'm gonna throw it the other way, Cletos. Whenever I lowlight the spy and then win as sniper, I get that shock factor of like, well, crap, that could have gone wrong. But I genuinely believe that the spy gets tilted more because they feel they could have won.
Yeah, I would agree. Like if you're spying, you're like, oh, I was low lit. Oh.
Yeah, and that could just be the moment in your mental game where that breaks you.
Yep. All right, and that is unfortunate, and we are still tied. So I mean, at the very least, Plastikqs did very well tying on what was seemed to be his weakest map. So
Yep.
that's something you can take away from that. And anyway, we'll see if either of them can actually pull ahead here. 3, 2, 1, planet.
High rise, any 3 or 5, the Softail variant being picked up here with contact inspect, seduce, and bug, and the mission set up for Turnipboy. And I think that Plastikqs has picked this up due to the fact that when it comes to his success rate as a sniper, it's 3 and 4 is a correct shot or a correct sniper play. Turnipboy is 1 and 3, and so going from a bad map for Plastikqs on library, well, this is Turnipboy's bad map. It's high rise. I'll have to see if Turnipboy can weather that though.
Yeah, there's not an infinite amount of time on this map, so it's 3 missions, so it's not too bad. But because there's such a low amount of guests, you can't really be as active as you might want to be to get those 3 missions done. It's a really fascinating map. There's no so the fact that we have transfer swap off means there's not a lot of reason for us to be looking at the right side of the map unless Ambassador goes there. So we're going to be really focused in on these conversations.
Yeah, and I actually played a game of competitive high rise really early on in SEL where they even turned inspec off and had Purloin on instead, meaning I had literally no incentive to watch the right hand side of the map at all. At least with inspect turned on, you have to note when people do visit that far set of statues. And speaking of which, the
And the end of
ambassador
red.
just has, so there's a fingerprint available. A fake contact comes through. Potentially, Turnipboy thinks that Kane here may be finished or getting close to, and wants to try and throw Plastikqs through the loop.
Yeah, and for the people that haven't played High Rise 3 of 5 very much, this is one of the maps that you try to get someone else shot almost more often than you try to actually finish. And so we're there's the mission progress might be a little bit deceiving because we might not actually be going for completion of mission. We're going for just try to make sure there's enough people that are suspicious that somebody gets shot. Now that does rely on a little bit of AI luck. And right now, are we picking up? Yeah, we're picking up
Both
the
these statues are
fingerprint
fingerprintable.
and then
Both of them are.
interesting.
Both of them are. So I wonder if Turnipboy goes statue to statue, picks up both inspects, both fingerprints, and then finishes on a second set of inspects at a different statue. Because it's kind of counterintuitive going statue to statue like this, especially when you know they're both inspected. Look at that, straight for it. This is going to be seduce fingerprint and then look for the inspect at somewhere other statue.
Yeah, and I don't even know if Plastikqs knows that there's 2 fingerprints over there because it's hard to see if Ambassador went to 2 different statues behind the screen. So this is actually, we're in a pretty good position as Turnipboy. We do have to make sure to visit.
We can just contact.
That's
It was a
true,
fake
okay.
before. We don't even have to finish the
And the end of
inspects.
red.
Here it comes, green contact. And this should just be the mission win. I don't see Plastikqs finding the shot here. 3 seconds left. 2. And that is Turnipboy finding the spy win. Lovely stuff.
Yeah, and you're right because like the funny thing about visiting, let's see, even if he had noticed the 2 statue visits, as long as we're not credited with fingerprint, we're really gonna think the spy, if that actually was the spy, is gonna visit statues once more, right? And so the contact there was definitely the
Yeah,
right
I mean, it
play.
doesn't even look like either of those statue visits were even acknowledged by Plastikqs. He's spending a lot of time centering in on Papa Danger, it looks like.
Yeah, heads
Yeah,
up
no,
play
I mean-
from Turnipboy to notice the 2 different inspects
Yeah.
and get them both done and be aggressive about them. It was a great decision.
And like we noted earlier, Kletos, Plastikqs won't highlight for just any old inspect. He tends to
Yeah.
do it when inspect is completed more than anything. So
Makes sense, but I mean, it just
um,
didn't even look like
sure.
he had
He
looked
didn't
over
rotate,
there.
that's for sure.
Yeah. Like, I mean, you could see Rocker through the screen or Boots through the screen, but
Honestly, Turnipboy probably could have gotten away with an any 4 of 5 on
Yep.
that game. Maybe even a bug.
Yeah, no, that's really nice stuff. 2 fingerprints in quick succession. The finger pronto, as Jacat coined, and that puts Turnipboy in the lead.
yeah, this is might actually be the first time Turnipboy has a lead, or at very least, we'll see if I mean, neither of these players have been up by more than 1, so we'll see if he can actually pull ahead here. In 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Yeah, we did have 2 spy victories on Courtyard, so Turnipboy did go up and serve, but Plastikqs immediately knocked him back down. Here we go. Plastikqs is now spying to try and equalize this series. A very hard position to be in, and this is sometimes where spying first can be valuable if you do find that first spy win, because you constantly put your opponent in the position where they have to spy to keep up.
And we should note there that the fingerprint has been swapped out for
And the end of
Purloin
red.
in this setup, which is, I would say, maybe possibly fingerprint's an interesting one to cut, but I think Purloin is the next most popular one to include in the 5 missions.
Plastikqs did go for a bit of a period where he put microfilm on this map, and it had some some form of success, but has moved away from his microfilming days at least. And clearly, this is a Plastikqs believing that Turnipboy's ability to track print is there, but potentially his ability to track a green purloin that bounces around, not so much. And just to bring us back to it, Plastikqs' green test ability is pretty strong.
Yeah, and I love microfilm on this map if it's part of an any 4 of 8, for example, but it's hard to justify including it over a bunch of other ones. It's not so much that microfilm is impossible, it's just that the other ones are so possible. Swap being an outlier, perhaps. But the other ones are just so important to include that. And basically, microfilm, when you're only looking at a small set of missions, like 5
Ooh,
missions, isn't hard to guard. It's hard to guard if there's 8 other ones. Sorry, 7
we
other
might
ones.
die right here. We've got the mission complete. It's a very quick move. Oh, we take the drink to
Yep.
cancel our talk. That's enough to confirm in Turnipboy's mind that this is us trying to flirt for free. That's a nice little rush, a Softail rush here on
Yeah.
high rise.
You should
But
probably
I
like take
think
your time a little bit with that flirt.
take your time. Absolutely.
Yeah, you
If
got
you
minute
waited
minute
in
and
that
a half.
conversation,
Yeah.
even just leave, go to bookshelves, have a bit of a time, take a drink, try and act a little bit more AI like, because then the sniper who knows that you are close to being completed with a contact and triple inspect will then consider other choices. And then with fingerprint turned off even more so, there's less reasons for the sniper to not think that you are the
Yep.
spy.
Yep. I mean, but still, that was still a good shot from Turnipboy.
Mhm.
Had
He did not want to take that shot, but he had to, and it
Yep.
was the correct
Yep.
shot.
Yep.
All right, and with that, Turnipboy is up 2. So with so this will be Plastikqs needing to come back here, but and this is Turnipboy's pick, so we'll see how that goes. Ooh, and we got first sliding of Smallman as spy.
It's almost like something you have to spend. It's like a currency thing where it's like
Yep.
you get to have one Smallman in a match, and then what do you do with it when you have it?
I think I got some extra currencies.
Yeah, no kidding.
I didn't always pick them. Sometimes it was just random.
I'm curious. Well, I don't know what my sniper win rate would have been like if I just instantly shot Smallman every time. It might not have been that much better than my actual sniper win rate.
Yep.
But anyway,
All right. Anyway, we'll see if see how Turnipboy does with Smallman here. If he takes full advantage of sneakiness, and actually, kind of interestingly, like one of Smallman's weaknesses is purloin because of the Toby duck, and so on a map where Toby's at the bar, that sort of goes away a little bit.
That's true.
So, and we'll see how that goes here in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Yeah, I think just to elaborate a little bit more, Smallman, very strong character. Modern, not the map for him, in my opinion. It's just too open. You can see Smallman in almost every scenario, other than one conversation, in my opinion, which is the one that Turnipboy is standing there. And so I don't think the benefits of Smallman really feed into Modern, especially considering he actually has a really slow walking animation in Modern's one of the largest maps for ground to cover between mission points.
that's true. I mean, there could be a Yomi thing in there where it's also one of the maps because you can see them, you're not nervous about them, so they can still do things like if Ambassador settles into a conversation when they're not being crowded out, but they are in a conversation, you might be able to get one of those free bugs. But I think that in the match we cast last week, I can't remember who it was, but they bugged with Smallman. Or actually, no. Actually, it might have been the Diamond Finals. I think Bacon might have been Smallman or something like that, where where Smallman
It was
bugged
Kaylee on
through.
Veranda.
Yes, and they bugged through Ambassador, and it showed because the thing is his bug animation actually isn't that great.
We're returning the book, blue book to green bookshelf, and this is the one time where Smallman is valuable because that conversation will block him when the sniper adopts this very standard position of the laser. So far, not seen at that green bookshelf. We do get a glimpse of him walking away, but we're zooming in to mark books, which indicates to me that potentially this has gone unseen from Plastikqs. And now Turnipboy, mission completion, stepping back for flirt, hits the white test. We've got time on our hands to plot out the rest of our game.
I feel like to balance out Smallman, every time Smallman completes a mission, he should grin a little bit, and then I should be able to shoot him during that.
I love it. Yes.
I always feel like whenever I see Smallman walking away from a mission site, I just imagine a grin on their face, and I really want to shoot.
No, I feel that. I feel that deep in my soul, Slappy. We go to the bar. We're gonna pick up delegate here. now going to look to flirt from the other side of the conversation, but unfortunately, General does sunshine us. He going to pick up the briefcase as well. Which, it's pretty sad times. Means that we're not going to get to visit him for a little bit here. We still have that delegate in hand. We got the drink. We're going to send Lowlight and Rocker
Banana bread.
to pick up the purloin, and we're going to contact. Really, just chaining these together.
Yes, and so also now we're in the position where lowlights are picking up the purloin, so we're probably not going to be guarding it that much. This is actually a pretty strong play by Turnipboy. So there's a mixture of things that happens when you banana bread when you send someone over. Is one, you are confirming that whoever picks it up is going to not be the spy, but also that it's not going to be something that they're going to be paying as much attention to because it's a low light.
Turnipboy now getting his first set of inspects. We've got 43 seconds on the clock. We need to flirt with General, but he's on the move again. Oh, that's rough, and that's the slow movement speed from Small Man coming back to bite us. Time ad comes through. Green test just before the beeping starts. Yeah, we'll have to see if Plastikqs is able to catch it now that the beeping is going. We now know that time ad has 100% happened. Flirting with the seduction target from the other side of the conversation, purely hidden at the back of it here. And we can possibly even get towards the statue and find the inspect without being seen. Ooh, wow, low light. The only one that was done before the contact came through in Rocker
I
picks
mean,
up
I
the
believe
statue.
Rocker was the one that picked up the purloin, right?
Yes, correct. Yes.
Yeah, she was, yeah.
But there
Right.
was a
Wow. I mean, yeah, I guess it's just, a lot going on,
Wonder
but,
what this is for.
that
Banana
was,
bread.
I mean, she was at the bar while the BB was
No,
going off.
the low light is what I'm specifically.
oh, the initial low light
Bec-
on
yeah.
Rocker.
because the initial low light comes really early around the 30 the 50-second mark into the game. We path into conversation, and then a little bit later on I think we get low lit. Now there is a SDA walking on the outside of the room, and then the arrow kind of goes over us as the low light comes through. I don't know if it's an accidental one or if it was a very purposeful low light, but she definitely had progress. She went to statues. She took the guest list. She was getting her last inspect. The only thing she didn't have, and unfortunately because we low lit her early, was the contact, and she was a 100% low light from the contact as
Yep.
well.
Yeah, unfortunate. I mean, it is often a
Low
fair
light. Oh, okay.
Yep.
So this is where
For early
Oh,
statues?
time ad. She was
Yeah.
at Windows after the time ad.
yeah.
That's why.
So essentially, Plastikqs has confirmed in chat that he was doing a bit of opponent research low lighting for early statue visits,
Okay.
something that Turnipboy must have not been doing.
Right, well, I
In
mean, it was
most
a
of his
good,
games.
definitely a good low light. Unfortunately, did
Yeah.
not, was not confident enough in that bit of behavioralism, I guess.
Yeah, I've been there as well. When your pressure's starting to mount against you, and
Yeah.
you're starting to do those opponent behavioral lowlights, sometimes they come back to bite you.
Yeah, and just I mean, and in all fairness, ignoring the fact that Rocker could not have contacted, a very standard move. I've certainly done a lot. Is just in the last minute or so, if I think I need to shoot somebody, you know, person holding a statue is often best choice.
Well,
Yeah,
I
a
mean,
person who's holding a statue did the guest list and has 2 sets of inspects.
Yep.
Like it's
and
the mission
was at
progress
the
is there.
Windows during the time ad.
Yep.
The
'cause
time ad,
there was
exactly. Yeah.
Tex, Smallman, and Rocker were the 3 people at Windows beforehand,
Yep.
and because of the conspicuous nature of a green time ad right in the 30-second mark. Now the thing though is, it's a bit early for a shot if they just added time. Like they probably wouldn't need to add time if all they needed to do was inspect.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's my only
That shot timing is
take of that.
fine. Like if you consider Turnipboy, he could have gone to the back of conversation, flirted immediately into the set of
Yeah.
statues, and finished. Like he could have finished.
Yeah, I would agree.
Is
Could've.
all I'm saying. I
Yeah,
don't.
it
I
would
don't
have
think
been
the
like
shot
another.
timing
Yeah,
was the worst.
I have a feeling that had that shot not come off, Turnip Boy would have probably just gone to one of those 2 statues and picked it up,
True.
finished
Yep.
within 5 seconds. All right. Anyway, so with that, Turnip Boy is extended his lead. It's gonna Plastikqs is gonna need to pretty much sweep most of the rest of these games to win. We'll
Yeah,
see if you.
difficult task.
Yeah. But hey, I mean, we've seen some pretty massive comebacks here, so it's certainly not impossible. And we'll see if he can do it as the person he had just shot. 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Yeah, Rocker has played a big role in this match, actually. It's funny, I guess we had mentioned her earlier, but she's been shot, she's been spy, she is, I think, even been ambassador once.
Yep, no, she is both of these guys, one of the highest spy choices. We do go for a time ad right at the edge of the map really early. We'll have to see if Turnipboy can spot this, and if he does, then there's quite a few early statue goers that could get knocked down to low lights, which help us out as well. Ooh,
Yeah,
Plastikqs trying to flirt here. That's not quite the distance you need.
yeah, and
Nice
I'm
one,
not
looking
sure
through.
that we want to be at Windows again. We would have been a pretty distant flirt, and because of the nature of green time ads, sometimes you catch that late, and then you look for the people that are at Windows still, which is a mistake from the sniper, but you could have mistakenly framed yourself for a time ad accidentally, but it doesn't look like anything comes of it for now.
I love the progress that Plastikqs is picking up here. Fingerprint and, of course, the delegate option. We didn't quite get that flirt due to us not quite getting the distance correct at the window pad, but it's still fine. We're going to pick up a green test here for 44%, which puts us in a decent position to find the 3 flirt at different areas. And when you want to talk about spy win rates, this is the map that surprisingly Plastikqs has a really high one on. It's his third best map for spying with a 62.5% win rate. Something that shows that he really understands the pacing required for modern and the missions required to get under the nose of the sniper.
Yeah, and it's good to see because sometimes people only feel like they get forced into adding time on modern if they're a slow character, which we're not. But again, like it's still a big map for whatever characters around. So I'm glad to see the early time ad and the fact that we're still making decent mission progress. And honestly, we're still kind of a ways out, even with the time ad, even with the decent mission progress. We still have 2.5 minutes to finish up 2 missions and then do 2 additional missions.
Yeah, no, it's not a bad position to be in, and considering contacts usually a staple on this map, you have to expect that that's going to come through at some point, which really means what's our final mission going to be? Inspect's going to come through, going to start up a fourth mission for ourselves here. The Purloin went to Kane, by the way, and I believe only now is it being noticed. Turnipboy kind of moves his laser around to the left side and sees that Toby is without guest list. We'll have to see if any lowlights do come through for this. Because if it is only just now that we're noticing that the guest list is not there, then that means that any information we try to gather potentially could be incorrect.
It's been a bit of a bummer for Fingerprint this game. I've just been like watching the Ambassador. Ambassador keeps bailing on Fingerprint opportunities. Ambassador goes to bar, doesn't take a drink, goes to statue earlier, but gets forced out because they had a drink and they sipped, and General was in their space and they got bumped out. So the Ambassador's been moving around so much, but hasn't left as many fingerprints as they normally would. And that's been a bit of a bummer because we want to pick up that last fingerprint.
The briefcase is down, and Irish will leave this conversation in just a second, so there is the opportunity to get a fingerprint from that. However, we're going to prioritize the statue instead, which means an AI almost certainly will take this briefcase away from us, and we can see Cowboy doing that on the side as well. A swap comes through, another green test for Plastikqs, really abusing his ability to hit those action tests. Now we have 3 missions completed, and all we need to do is seduce and fingerprint to find the mission win.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is a really conspicuous call over to green swap. Now we'll see if
Banana
Turnip
red.
Boy is looking at it.
Ooh,
Interesting.
contact
See,
here
we
comes
try to
through.
we try to cover it up, which is not a bad decision if we don't look at the statue, and we don't. I like this play then.
This has to be a spy win. Plastikqs is gonna opt for the seduce. Zeke moves away. We have to remember there's a fingerprint on green bookshelf. We have so many ways to finish this game. 30 seconds left. Plastikqs, how does he opt in to finish it? Zeke in that conversation with the suspected double agent, seems like the flirt from across the conversation will be the choice. 20 seconds left to go. All we have to do is hit that right click, and we've got it. But
Oh
no,
my
Zeke
God.
leaves. Disaster starting to form. Plastikqs
we've
has
gotta
to
move.
chase the window pad to try and find the flirt coming
It's
through.
gonna be too far. We have to stop in
It
time.
might be too far.
No,
Let's
it's too
see.
far.
Oh wow, that's way too
Nope,
far.
nope,
No, it's too
nope.
far again.
Oh my
0.
God.
Oh my no. This is
Oh.
twice in this series that Plastikqs has thrown away spy games that were 100% wins. And it
Yeah.
has to be heartbreak at this point.
Yeah, he must just not have known about the fingerprint at the bookshelf because
Well, I mean, at this
know.
point, we are tunneled on
Yeah.
seduction, right? We are so tunneled. And so the thing is, so in the last few seconds of the game, the first time that Plastikqs stopped at the window, they needed to add time. They didn't have time to flirt, even if they were in range. There's the timer that it takes. It's not
Yeah,
instant.
yeah.
At
Yeah,
window.
I
You
mean the
actually
only
need
way
to
there
time.
would have been to stop early and time ad.
Yes, exactly.
I
Which
mean,
is unfortunate because it's
yeah.
going to be overtime if it's a green, and it's going to be a white time ad. It's a white
Yeah.
time ad, right?
And I would say that when went into this last conversation with Seek, I think it would have been smart to just insta talk since
It
you
would
have
have
a
been the worst idea.
yeah. I mean,
It's a
especially
three-person
a
conversation.
conversation with there's only 2 people in the other people in the conversation. Insta talking is a thing that AI could very well do in that situation.
I mean, just to recap, after that game, that puts Turnipboy up to 8, I believe.
Yeah, so-
Plastikqs on 4. And if Plastikqs had won the library spy game and this spy game, this is not an 8-4. This is a 6-6.
Yeah.
Oh, it's rough to watch these spy games fall apart for Plastikqs. And this time, you know, even if we had just hit that long flirt from the window
Yeah.
pad at the beginning of
Yeah,
the
the
game,
early
when
one,
we
yeah.
kind of
Even yeah.
we demonstrated that we didn't quite have the distances at window pads down, that
Yeah,
could
well,
have been the
clear, yeah.
game won as well. It's just
Yep.
it's really unfortunate.
And
Yeah,
it's funny is
that's
Turnipboy actually did not seem like they were confident at the end of the game. There's a screen shake around 10 seconds left or so, where it seemed like maybe this was just readjusting their mouse. Sometimes we interpret screen shakes too much, but there was a screen shake at the end of the game, and there was a lot of highlights on the map. So I don't think Turnipboy was comfortable at all in that end game. And so it was a wonderful spy game up until that last part. I loved the decision to banana bread to cover
Yeah.
the swamp because Turnipboy had no idea that the swap had gone
Yeah.
off, and probably by the time they had seen it, they knew that it had been someone out there, and they just had a sea of highlights staring back
Yeah.
at them, but they didn't know which one it was.
I'm actually surprised the shot didn't come off. We have a swap and we have a purloin. That might be what the screen shake is about because he knows that someone's about to mission complete. Unfortunately, though, Plastikqs isn't able to find it. Now we sit match point in favor of Turnipboy, 8-4. For Plastikqs to win this series, he has to win every game from this point onwards to force the tiebreaker scenario.
Well, this is Plastikqs map, so we'll see if that comes in to help him at all here. I mean, and he is sniping first, so that's that's at least that's something. That'll hopefully give him some confidence if he manages to get this shot. We'll see how it goes in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
You say it's Plastikqs map. Well, yeah, it is his map choice here, but this is Turnipboy's home ground. Pub has been his map choice of the season. 36 games total played this season in SCL 4. Turnipboy knows this map inside and out, and that's really tough times for Plastikqs, knowing that Turnipboy has a pretty good handle of this map.
Yeah, and it's also one it's a little bit hard to run in either direction, to either sweep to sweep for either player. It's possible. It's not the swingiest of maps, and I don't know. Like in this position, I'm not sure if Plastikqs is going to be overly hesitant. We tend to say that when players get stressed as sniper, they go to extremes, right? They're either way too hesitant or way too itchy trigger finger. And I'm curious to see that comes through right now. It looks like we're not freaking out too much. So, but still, it might not be enough. I'm still just kind of reeling at that game for them. Like I would during this game, if I was Plastikqs, I would still be thinking about the last game. I couldn't help it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. In fact, at this point, you have to be so confident in your sniper play that you can bounce back from a heartbreak, 2 heartbreaks of spy games in the series. And if you're adding up the score, you know that this series could be tied up going into pub. And like Plastikqs says in the chat, he knew that this was the home map of Turnipboy. And so instead of playing Courtyard Chicken, they were essentially playing Pub Chicken. However, at this point, Plastikqs lost both. Either way, 81% comes through on the flirt. We've got a minute and 48 seconds. Turnipboy will go to the bar to pick up a drink here and the delegate option as well. Double agent on the move. Seduction target as well in orange dress on the move. Gonna have to try and find our flirt, find our contact, find the purloin, and then we need our fourth mission on pub, which sometimes not easy to get.
Yeah, I'm still just kind of still thinking about the previous game, although we do pick up a fingerprint, which is good. Which is when we sometimes we talk about our spy play, you have to manage your
Banana
good luck.
bread.
You also have to manage your bad luck, and so that was a thing where we got slightly unlucky with the seduction target leaving, but we didn't manage it really. We didn't plan for contingencies as well as we should have. But regardless, that was the last game, and we delegate over to Alice, who I don't know if they'll be in time. There's a lot of people in line in front of them.
Yeah, no, very close. This will come down to the last couple seconds on this timer. Turnipboy looking to try and finish this. He has a fingerprint as well from earlier, so could go for it. There it is. The expired does come through. 42 seconds on the clock. We need to find a fingerprint. We need to find a flirt, and then potentially we have to go to statues for the soft tail finish. Turnipboy to pick up the briefcase, going to fingerprint it as well. That's our second mission completion. 30 seconds left, and it's getting close now. Orange dress by herself in a conversation means she's going to be on the move with 23 seconds. And oh no, the mental fortitude has been broken. The shot's going to come through, and it's the wrong one onto red dress. Turnipboy is our first challenger finalist in this single elimination tournament.
I wonder what was I mean, obviously the inspect for the red dress shot. I'm just wondering what else would have happened to trigger that. I mean, contact clearly.
Yeah, alone in a conversation with the suspected double agent. Well, no, actually, no. She was in transit during the contact.
Whoops.
I think this was just we were thinking about the last game. I mean, and I don't.
Yeah, you might be right. Just a little tilt, just not focusing as well as maybe you should have in that final game. But I mean, either way, it would have been rough trying to win the next 4 games.
Yeah. No. Just taking a shot at that point. I mean, I probably wouldn't have been that much different. She did kind of path near Ambassador a couple times.
If you've missed the low light and then you see her go past Ambassador, immediately leave the conversation and go to statue, then you've got your 4 missions in your head and you can shoot for it.
Yeah, and as noted in chat, this match was closer than the score indicates. This actually easily could have gone both ways, and this game probably wouldn't. This particular pub game would have been vastly different if I think if we had gotten the spy win before. But we don't say the tilt is real because it's not real. It's a thing.
It certainly is. With that, Turnipboy does progress to the finals of this Challenger Single Elim tournament, narrowly missing out as 3rd seed overall in a promotion opportunity, finishing behind Pox and myself in the Challenger League. But now he's in a position where he can fight for that promotion. If he wins the finals, then he gets it. If he takes 2nd place, then he gets to fight for it regardless against Mr. Rogers. And our next matchup will decide who he plays.
And honestly, it was great. It was. See, the thing is that bothers me, or sorry, not bothers me, but it's a little bit sad. Is it's not that we didn't see good play from both sides. It's we saw excellent play from both sides. And so, while it would have been stressful for both players to go into a long, close match, possibly even a tiebreaker. I expect to see a lot more from Plastikqs in the future. I think that there was a lot of great, also especially the sniper play. Like we're talking about the spy play where there's a lot of close calls, but his sniper play was on point as well.
Yeah, just gotta, I guess now get a little bit closer to the seduction target at Windows. Is the best lesson to have taken from there. And anyway, we got the next match set up here pretty much. Let's see. Hands up, there we go. All right, I'm gonna get stuff going here.
So introducing these 2 players, Shep versus